It's the Bennington show on a Friday. Ron Bennington, Gail Bennington.
Yo.
And from Minneapolis itself, Joey Jojo Bennington.
Hello.
Minneapolis blew up last night. It looked like Mardi Gras. Also, look over at Brooklyn last night.
Yeah, Spike Lee was throwing a big party. Brooklyn was
the Apollo went off. We live in a princeless world for the first time. Joey, did you talk to your friends in Minneapolis?
I did. A lot of them went to First Avenue, the club that he got his start. It's a club from Purple Rain. And there's just swarms of people there, leaving flowers. They're playing Prince music right there on First Avenue. It was, they sent me photos. It was sad, to say the least, yeah.
It was sad, but then the weird thing about music is it becomes joyful, you know?
Yeah.
Second line very, very quickly when a musician dies.
Yeah, initially you have that shock and then the sadness sets in. But then, today I'm also thinking it's amazing the whole world is listening to Prince right now. Everybody's like playing their favorite songs, and at least, that there is that connection. Like you can live inside someone's work that way.
Oh, absolutely, man. And like you said, sometimes you have your own personal relationship with the music, but then you turn over and look at this picture of Niagara Falls they just did as purple. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. Prince was massive.
Oh yeah, he was huge. And I saw someone had put together some of the biggest tributes around the world, from the Empire State Building to the Eiffel Tower, and
crazy.
It's nuts. It's crazy to think about one person having that kind of impact, and their music having brought so much joy to people.
Sure, crazy joy, because Prince, so much party music there. I mean, just think of how many times you're at a wedding or you're at a party, or how many times 1999 got played on New Year's Eve over the years. Forget just 1999, when people finally went, now we can really do up 1999. But it still plays every year on New Year's Eve. It's like a happy birthday song. You're not going to be able to escape it. And then, they just started to show, hey, did you know how many hits that he wrote for other people? And there's just, he gave away like 13, 14 hits, just handed them out to other artists. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it shows you how much, how deep that well was with him. Like, I really don't think, no matter how long he stuck around. I think the thing that really had me sad last night is he's a dude, I think especially because of his build, and like he seems healthy and youthful. He seemed like the kind of guy who was going to be around till he was 90, and they were going to like take him out for like big events, and he would just show up and start shredding on the guitar.
Yeah. Isn't it weird too, that how out of all his stuff, and I mean, he's a unbelievable songwriter, but that thing from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's up on the iBank today if you've never seen it, where Prince just gets out and gets fucking crazy in that George Harrison tribute. And like, one of the funny things is you can see like Tom Petty doesn't look so crazy about it, because he's fucking grinding up against Tom Petty, and Tom Petty's like, I'm not that kind of dude, man. I'm just kind of laid back. And Tom Petty's just trying to be true to the song. Yeah. And Prince just wants to take it. And it's fucking, it's as amazing as we remember it being. But those personal memories that you have. Gail's got a young cousin, and he's really into music. And back in 2007, during the Super Bowl, when Prince is just fucking tearing it up and it's raining all over the place, this little kid, he would have been at the time like 4, just pulls his shirt off and starts fucking moshing against the TV set. And that's one of the first things that I thought of. One of the first things that I thought of was that Sandra Bernhard movie where she just is in pasties and a G-string dancing the Little Red Corvette.
Yeah.
You know, like these weird little iconic moments. Crazy.
Yeah, that Super Bowl is a memory that my group of friends, we always talk about because we were all together and we just went nuts. We absolutely were going crazy, and it was like this massive party. We were having so much fun. And one of my friends texted me last night to kind of talk about that, and he said, I have it on video, and I had no idea that somebody was taping it while we were doing it.
Wow.
And he said, but I don't have a means to play it. Like, I have
because
this
it's
tape.
old school tape. That's fucking great. I remember, well, they did, you know how they do the, every year at the Super Bowl, the greatest Super Bowl countdown moments. The guy who was producing the halftime show, you know, it's just raining fucking sheets, right? And he goes into the back and he goes, you know, Prince, you know, is there anything I could do for you? And Prince goes, could you make it rain a little more? Because he already had it in his fucking, you know, the wheels are turning.
Yeah.
That he was going to go out and blow it out in a fucking rainstorm.
Yeah.
Like he's already thinking, wait, this could become a great Prince moment. You know? And it's like fucking true. Like if you go back and watch that now, you're like, how did they make it rain for Purple Rain like that? What a great idea.
I know, that's how it'll get remembered. Oh, it was great. They made it rain for it. It's perfect.
Here is Jack, Massachusetts.
Hey
Yeah.
Hey guys, good morning. I just wanted to bring up how back in 1989, how Prince did the soundtrack to the first Batman movie. And I remember being a little kid, and when Joker's on the parade float, you know, throwing money out, and that Prince song is playing, and everyone's partying. It's like, that's such a great scene, and it's such a great soundtrack to that great movie.
Yeah,
This town needs an animal.
that song is so fantastic.
Yeah. It's just great. All right. If you looked at Prince, and we could, by the way, a couple people, including my friend TR, I never realized this, feels like 844 Rock God has actually jinxed
Oh, God.
rock gods.
Oh, no.
Because it is true.
Yeah, ever since we changed the number,
Yeah.
we're losing so many rock gods. It's insane.
And the thing is, Chris, to his credit, wanted to use 844 skin jobs. And maybe that's what we should have done.
Then Harrison Ford might go.
If only.
Oh, my God.
All right,
If
Chris,
that's the power, it's like,
Yeah.
is there some 844 ISIS guy or
come on,
something?
enough with the ISIS. They're not as bad as everybody says. You know what
They
I
get
mean?
a bad rap.
They do have a bad rap, and it's because of the way they dress. They dress a little weird. Chris, what is the definitive Prince song for you?
For me, it's always been Computer Blue off of Purple Rain. I love that
He
song.
loves Computer Blue.
Yeah.
That was one of the songs that popped in my mind because there's so many connections with friends and family, things that you've shared, nights, crazy nights. But one of the memories I had was, I believe it was the first time I ever met Tammy Pescatelli.
Yeah.
And she came in and did the Bennington show. I mean, you had known her for a while, but the two of us sang the opening to Computer Blue together.
It was really odd. That was really an odd moment for us all.
Wendy? Yes, Lisa.
I have to admit, I don't get, it's never weird for me as a dad, but that one, I'm like, wait. Somebody wrote last night, too, about how much they like Gail and how much they love the show, but they cringe every time she'll say reverse cowboy in front of her dad.
I didn't realize it came up so much.
Apparently, quite a bit. So, what about for you, Joe? What is your definitive?
When Doves Cry. That's the song that I remember being 4 years old and hearing that song for the first time with my mom driving the car in front of me after she just took me to McDonald's. And even back then I was like, what the fuck is this?
I know, man.
And that
I
was
know.
literally my introduction to Prince was that song.
You know, one of the things that made me feel better is how many fucking moron tweeters wrote, so this is what it sounds like when the doves cry. And some of them were very, very famous. And, you know, I mean, I can laugh pretty much when regular people do it. But when Oprah and Neil deGrasse Tyson lay that shit out, I'm fucking rolling on the floor. I love it.
I found that there's so many of his songs that you could do that with.
Yeah.
Like, the beautiful ones, they hurt you every time.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's true. Hey, Matt, PA, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Ron, how you doing?
Hey.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we were like 12 years old. Me and a couple of my friends we were going down to Ocean City, Maryland, and my best friend's older sister was a big Prince fan, and we were listening to Metallica. And we thought we were awesome, saying like, "Oh, you know, the greatest guitar player ever." And she said, "Did you ever hear Prince play guitar?" And we just started laughing and making fun of her, saying like, "Ah, Prince, you know." So then she played a Prince song, and then we just kind of sat back and said, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
we were wrong.
Well, that's the thing about Prince is that there was plenty to make fun of because he was just fucking nuts.
Oh,
you
he
know
was
what I mean?
crazy. Yeah,
he was just nuts.
He was so wild, and you know, anytime somebody is gonna stand outside of what the norm and say, "Oh, this is my thing," you know, they're always gonna get attention for that. When it's style, or you know, it's silly to talk about his hair just being.
I mean, he was
so...
never not in fucking character. There was never a time where you're like, "Oh, there's Prince with a pair of shorts and a fucking dad shirt," you know, carrying a cooler. He always looked like he was walking to the stage whenever you saw him. I remember how much we just fell out like a couple years ago when he got into the third eye sunglass.
Oh.
We're like, who the fuck?
Brilliant.
You know that he was just sitting there and went, wait, I was just thinking something. You know, you have a third eye. What if you had an extra sunglass hat? Prince. Remember when SNL would do those Prince sketches too? And
yeah.
He was just making people do stuff. Fucking hilarious. What about for you, Gail? Definitive Prince. By the way, the what I love about Joe's story is that he's 4, eating a Happy Meal, hearing a fucking song, and then finding out that dude lives near him.
I know.
Yeah.
Just jiving while you're eating your Happy Meal.
Loving it.
My definitive we closed yesterday's show with, which is The Beautiful Ones. It's my favorite song by him. It's just his emotion and like
It's great.
I think it's a perfect song.
Well, when you end a ballad like a madman, you know what I mean? You're just fucking screaming at this bitch.
I want you.
She had to go to him, you know? She had to. She couldn't let that shit go by. I have to say, though, out of everything, you know, because I was thinking, is it 1999 or Delirious but Little Red Corvette is, because it's been played so many times, we forget what a great fucking sexy song that is. That song is nuts.
Yeah, songs like that, when they get so popular, it causes you to kind of be like, yeah, I've heard that song. I mean, even Purple Rain being like, oh, I've heard it a million times, but when you re-listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, this is one of his definitive songs for a very good reason.
Also, Raspberry Beret is a fucking song. It's like a Beatles song, and you're like, oh, this is kind of silly. But then I remember when the guys from R.E.M. and Warren Zevon did it, and even that was great. From the Black Album, there's this kind of hip-hop song that it's called, I think it's called Bob George, and it's about his it's some fucking rap guy giving shit to a chick because she's saying he's fucking Bob George. What's he do? Manage rock stars like that little fucking Prince, and it's just so funny. And it came out at a time where rap stars were trying to fucking attack Prince because they're like, what is that shit? You know, that's old. What are you doing playing, you know, kind of white people music and old people music? And he fucking does this thing, and it's just so amazing. Hey, Jacob in Westchester, what's up?
Hey, man, what's up?
Hey.
My favorite Prince moment is the moment that he wasn't even in. Have you guys seen what Dave Chappelle did with Charlie Murphy playing basketball with Prince?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I thought of that as well yesterday. I mean, it's so hysterical. It's a really great moment.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I actually have a really funny story about that.
I pictured him really doing that, so I just brought it up. I saw it this morning, so I just wanted to bring it up.
Appreciate it. Joe just limped in with the whiniest little. Actually, I have a pretty great story about that. What is it?
Okay, so his bassist, Prince's bassist, he opened up a recording studio in St. Paul, and my friend worked there as a janitor, so I would go visit him there sometimes. And he knew Prince's bassist pretty well. And so we're hanging out there, and he's showing me the studios. And my friend asked him, he goes, "Hey, is Prince really good at basketball?" And he just looks at us and he goes, "He'd whoop you, me, and him together right now." Which is, we were just floored. It was right after the skit came out, too. And I was like, apparently he's really good at basketball.
Why not?
I love that Chappelle sketch, and the best is just his expression when he dunks, like just looking so confidently at the camera.
He floats down.
This is great. Glenn in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, Ronnie, it was Prince growing up, man. I was 17 years old when that all popped, Purple Rain and stuff, man, and Doves Crying, and the mystery that surrounded that guy from then up until now has been phenomenal. And I hope that's not lost in our rock stars of today. But I was watching an interview it's quite a few years ago, and they were interviewing Eric Clapton, and they asked him how it felt to be the world's greatest guitar player, and he said, "I don't know. Why don't you ask Prince for me?" And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a pretty amazing thing. And you have to remember, is like he didn't even present himself as a guitar god. You know what I mean?
He really didn't. And I think that's just like the guy was saying earlier. I think that it's just like it's not even on people's radar all the time, particularly if you're not a musician, that you're not paying attention to the facts like, what is he doing over there? Like, if you take a moment and listen to what he's doing on guitar, it's crazy. He's a phenomenal musician.
Well, the thing that, and we put it up on the iBang today from that George Harrison tribute, but the way that he's looking at the other musicians, there's this thing of joy and fuck you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like literally, it reminds you of somebody who took their big giant dick out and fucked someone's wife in front of them. And the woman's going crazy for it. And he's just looking at the dude.
And then the best is like, they're all kind of like so downplayed, you know? And he's just got this like crazy loud, sexy red hat with his like, his shirt all open. Like he can't help it. He just can't help.
I mean, those are, you know, Harrison's like best friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's Harrison's son, right?
Yeah. But you can see Petty acts like he's falling and his guard doesn't catch him. It's just so fucking great. Oh, remember when I said a few years ago, my brother almost got in a fight? I got a text from him. Yeah, no, I got to tell you, my brother is past the age where he should be fighting with anyone. Sure. And then my brother said, almost. I did tackle that motherfucker.
Tackle.
Because he said Prince wasn't a good guitar player.
That's just not true, and you know it. There's no reason. Put hands on him.
No. Well, still, the thing is, I mean, he did have a point. Guy can't play. But I just sometimes think there would have been another reason that he would have been fighting with the guy anyway. Even if the guy just said, yeah, Prince is good. Let's go over here to Craig in Connecticut. What's up, Craig?
Hey, at least you have the decency not to die on your anniversary show day.
You know what? I mean, I don't know at any point that it would have been okay, but I don't know if you guys noticed, because I didn't act like a broadcaster yesterday. I lost my shit when I saw the news pop up, and Dan was coming out of his chair with such fear in his face, like I was going to scream out, I just found fucking a nuke underneath the table.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
he looked so fearful because I was acting crazy. I was so upset and pissed and shocked and sad at the same time.
I didn't.
David Bowie and Glenn Fry, and now this. It's just...
Yep. Thank you, Chris Stanley, for 844 Rock God. You did it again, you fucking jinx.
You did it.
What can we do for you, Craig?
Did you know that Prince wrote the hit Stand Back for Stevie Nicks?
Yeah.
And he's actually playing the synthesizer in the background on that record.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
What a talent. He's going to be missed.
Yeah, I mean, he's... definitely he's going to be missed, but we know that there are thousands of Prince songs recorded somewhere because he was recording in his own... Like, he had his own studio set up when fucking no one did, you know? So he would just record constantly. And people even said, I went in, I cut songs with Prince years ago, and it was so great, and he never put them out. I don't know what the hell happened. From South Florida, the one and only. And by the way, of Chester, PA, by the way, West Side, Best Side. It's our buddy Flathead. Hey, Flats.
Hey,
what's going on?
How's it going?
Chris?
What's
happening? Hey, I have a Prince story I could share with you guys.
Okay.
Years ago, I did some business with this fellow, and I had to go to their house to get some paper signed, and they had all these CDs, like 1,000 classical CDs, and they had 3 Prince CDs. So I asked the woman, I said, "Man, the musical taste here is a little out there. You got all this classical music and then 3 Prince CDs." She goes, "Oh, my son Eric is the trumpet player for Prince, and his older brother is the manager." So I said, "Oh, I'm a big fan. So about 2 weeks later, I get in the mail a box from Copenhagen, and it had all these albums, vinyl records, of every Prince album and anything he had worked on, like Morris Day and the Time and Jerome and all that stuff. Yeah. It was a picture of Prince and a letter, handwritten, thanking me for taking care of Eric's mom and dad. Right?
Whoa, that's crazy.
Sent me an invitation to a New Year's Eve party down at Miami. He was opening a club called Glam Slam. So the invitation was crazy because it gave instructions what to do if you met him, okay?
Yeah.
And it said, A, don't look him in the eye. B, don't ask him if he wants a drink or to dance. Didn't say anything about a bump, but the last one said, if you happen to talk to Prince, refer to him in the third person. So I was like, man, I can't wait to talk to him. But man, this Prince guy throws a great party.
It's so great.
But
that would be funny if that was in his own handwriting too. Like he just had to describe each person.
But it was wacky because I took this girl and she went in the restroom. And when she came out, she had this horrified look on her face. And I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "There's a guy in the ladies' room with like a latex skirt on and this plaid top with suspenders, and he had a potted plant on his head, like the moon going on Popeye, and he told her she was too hot to be at the party."
This is what Ted Cruz worries about Mississippi. This is exactly the slippery slope that he's concerned with. That's a great story, Flats.
That's amazing.
Okay, guys. Have a great day.
Peace. Flats swims in many parts of the ocean.
He does.
Here's Frank in the Bronx. What's up, Frank?
Good morning, guys. How are you? Thanks for my prize gift. I got it the other day.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. Real quick, I was able to meet Prince, and again, those rules are very interesting because we had a distance thing where you really couldn't look him in the eye. Boy, he's small like a cricket.
No, he's tiny. Yeah.
Oh, he's tiny. But we were at his studio. It was a muscular dystrophy event where he was part of in Minnesota. I was working for IBM at the time. Anyway, after the bash, we went to his house, and it was like, I don't know, about 80 to 100 people, and then we saw the studio, and he's got like we have wine racks. He's got racks of songs and things that he's built over the years, and I can just imagine that, what we haven't heard yet. I'm looking forward to what what comes out of some of the things that he's created. But really cool dude. Didn't intimately hang with him, but we were all in that same big room. He busted out a guitar, and I was able to meet that guy. I'll tell you, it was great person. He's going to be missed. And you know what? What I hear, and Gail, I mean, the fact that you're a lot younger than all of us and you appreciate this music is a sign that you were brought up pretty good, around good music. So I really appreciate it. And, enjoy the rest of the day. It's going to be sad not having Prince around, but at least he went from a symbol back to Prince. We can call him Prince again.
Yeah, that's true. Not the artist formerly known as.
But he's one of those artists who I think it defies age, as far as young people have always loved him, and all the way up to when he first broke out. Anybody who was around during that time, it's really joyful party music, and everybody loves him. I mean, even the amount of people I heard just on the train or like walking, talking about him, and somebody was like saying like it was like Michael Jackson and then it was Prince. Like those were like those two like kind of iconic artists of that time period. And they're both gone, and both of them gone like way too soon. It's
it was Michael, Prince, and Madonna, and I believe they were all the same exact age. I think they all would have been 57 right now, if I'm not wrong. And those were very colorful artists for a very colorful decade. But I think the difference between those three artists is Prince had a gigantic case of I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Right. Like he was about the music first. And, we ended the show yesterday with The Beautiful Ones, and we were blasting it, and we were singing, and the PD of what I think is the best station on this whole company, Jeremy Tepper comes by, and he just opens the door and just starts to groove with us. But then you could see that he's, really shaken, as we all were. And he goes, Merle Haggard, David Bowie, Prince, we're losing the real artists, not the celebrity guys, the guys that were really there for the music, serving the music. And I'm like, and that's what's irreplaceable. Yeah. That's the thing that, everybody loves the Prince stories. And he was a 24-hour day rock god. He made sure he served that, whether he was the way he dressed, the fact that he has his home studios, and that whole thing where he literally was royalty in Minneapolis. But it's the music itself. A guy who loved music, worked on it constantly, presented it to people, and just while people were grooving it came out with something totally different next. And that's the way he reminds me of Bowie. But he also reminds me of Stevie Wonder. He also reminds me of James Brown. He reminds me of Little Richard. He reminds me of Freddie Mercury. He reminds me of Smokey Robinson. Maybe most of all, that whole scene reminded me of Sly and the Family Stone. How could that be one guy and you're sitting here going, no, I guess it's the Beatles. That's who we got it from. Or Mick Jagger or
Hendrix,
Motown. Hendrix. I mean, we could sit around. People wrote articles. Sorry, Bob Dylan, but really the Minnesota's greatest contribution is Prince. Nobody's wrong. No matter where you compare him or what you put him in with that whole scene, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's just so many sides to this. Great musician, but great songwriter. I mean, his last tour, piano and microphone, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because the songs are so fucking good.
That's another thing that is it really mirrors how we just went through this with Bowie, is that he was such a present artist all the time.
Yeah.
Always working, always kind of living in the art. He was the type of artist who completely walked his talk and, you know, was like the definition of the artist's way. It's just like, it's such a good lesson to think you just live in the reality that you want, and you live the life that you want.
Like Donald Trump. Donald Trump.
Sure, he lives in the reality he wants. Learn from him.
Remember that there was some kind of The Secret? Remember that thing where if you think something and say it? That's Donald Trump. We've got the biggest numbers right now. I had the #1 selling book of all time. What? The Bible's a book. You realize that, right? Here's John, Iowa. What's up, John?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, good.
Hey, I saw a YouTube video a while back of a Prince concert. He was on stage. I think it was at Madison Square Garden. And I believe it was Kim Kardashian. He brought her up on the stage and tried to kind of do a little dance thing with her.
Oh, yeah, I remember this now. Then he let her off the stage because she couldn't move her ass.
She was just being stiff.
Oh, it was great. He just, like, waved her off the stage, like, get down. Just go away, stupid.
He's like, get the hell off my stage, or something great like that.
He didn't understand it. Look how he just looks like Prince from the 80s. And that's what we talked about all the time, too. We had heard about the flu the other day, and now we were hearing that it's opiates. We don't know exactly what happened. I don't know how many of those details are going to help us find a place for this. But I do remember hearing years ago that he needed hip replacements because of the splits and the dancing and all that. So maybe it was opiates, but at some point, man, it'll take maybe a generation or two before you can put that together, of what he brought into. The very funny thing is last night, I heard a lot of people just saying Mozart. You know what I mean? Like, you have to go all the way back because they were like, oh, when he was 7, he wrote a song and it was called something like Funk Nation. I mean, it was like, it was like not something you would expect out of a 7-year-old. The fact that Prince is his actual name, you know, just not like a cool name that he made up.
Yeah, I've always thought about that with him and Madonna. Isn't Madonna actually, she's like Madonna Ciccione. It's like you were like born to be a pop star when you're just given that name.
Here is our buddy, Hard Rock Johnny. Johnny.
Bennington.
Johnny.
Hey, I want to come over after the show today. If you got time, I want to pick out some of the Prince stuff for myself to take home. Just some of the
couple pieces.
Yeah, gold albums, any guitars you have, and probably a couple little jackets.
Yeah, I would love to.
Actually, last night, some of the news channels came by and they said we have some Prince shoes, and CBS New York TV they did a little piece about it, and they showed the shoes, and they said, and they have a pair of his famous shoes, and I just wish we had a pair of pants just to hear the news people say, and there's a pair of his famous pants. But they can only go with famous shoes.
Oh, Johnny, could you imagine how teeny tiny those famous pants would be?
Oh, the shoes are tiny as could be. They're these tiny little shoes that you could hang from the mirror of your car, but they're all they're like sparkly and have heels. And it's just amazing. I watched that what you were talking about, Ronnie, the NFL Films version of the NFL halftime show with him.
Yeah.
It was just amazing to see kind of the behind the scenes and him saying, could you make it rain more? That's just crazy.
That's so fucking great. But that's something that's supposed to be a throwaway gig. And he turned it into, seriously, one of the great rock and roll moments of all time.
Oh, yeah. It's just like, why were they playing football after that Prince concert?
Seems stupid.
I think not this summer, but the summer past, I was in Minnesota, and he hangs out, I guess there's a club called the Dakota up there, and that's where a lot of people were last night. And my friend works there, and she said that he was going to be there for dinner. And afterwards, I was walking back, and the street that it's on doesn't allow vehicular traffic, unless, of course, you're Prince. And And I walked by, and there were these two SUVs just sitting in front of the Dakota with their lights flashing. And I said, that could only mean one thing. So we just kind of wandered over near it. And about 2 minutes later, here he comes with this little entourage of all these girls. And I don't know, 15 feet away. And he's just this tiny little person surrounded by all these people. And he just hopped into his little SUV, and it drove down the road that no one else was allowed to drive on in Minnesota. So it was like, in Minnesota, seeing Prince was kind of a cool thing. I never, had the luck of seeing him ever in I never saw him in a concert live, which kind of makes me sad.
But you know what? As we were sitting around telling you, like, artists that you could just say was derived from Andy Warhol. I mean, he basically set up a weird Andy Warhol scene.
Yeah.
No matter what he did. Here we go. Let's just play Raspberry Beret. And literally, as he says sometimes, you got to take it in your head like you are hearing this song for the first time, not the 1 millionth, but just listen lyrically. What a great fucking song this is. Alone. It's just badass. Prince on the Bennington Show. That song, it doesn't even just sound like Paul and George, but it sounds like George Martin too. Like you're like, did he produce that? Talking about Prince, who we lost yesterday, another giant rock god gone from our lives, but the music is going to outlive all of us. Here's Phil in Michigan.
How's it going, buddies?
Yeah.
One of my most favorite moments with Prince was actually something that was completely irreverent and just typified him utterly. He was a guest star on The Muppet Show. And as he's trying to introduce himself to the security guard there on the way in, he gets a little frustrated. Okay, so I'm known as the artist formerly known as Prince. The bear replies, and I'm the bear that's currently known as Not Amused. And the rest of the show just sprung from there. It was hilarious.
Well, everybody needs a good Muppets moment. Darren in Montana.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to comment on how well he danced. I mean, I wasn't a super fan or anything, but like on that video, Little Red Corvette, I mean, he'd glide across the floor in stilettos, and like I told your strainer, if I wear anything taller than work boots, I look like Bambi on ice skates.
Well, that's okay for you, Darren. I mean, you actually help in other ways. Who is the phone screener today?
That is Kashmir.
Well, we need to hear Kashmir on this. Kashmir, you're a man who understands style more than anything, and you have to admit Prince's style.
Oh, the essence of it. It's just every single, like, it made every outfit, like you were saying, like a main event, and it just really kind of is inspiring. Even though he wasn't in fashion, he like is fashion.
Well, I don't know. I can't imagine that. That the fact that he was involved in everything, that he didn't go over every hat like it was important. Now, one of us dressed as Prince for Halloween last year. We're not going to say which one. Because you don't want to share that picture.
I don't want to share that picture.
I thought it was great.
How weird, though, that was just this October.
I know.
And the funny thing is, I was thinking about, in like pagan religions in Wicca, with Wicca, they dress up for a Samhain, Halloween.
Yeah.
And you kind of dress as the person or the character that you want to emulate, or it's a symbol of the next coming year. So I remember even then, like, well, this is perfect. Like, Who wouldn't want to emulate Prince for your entire year? But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I had even made I made my own version of the 3 lens glasses.
Yeah.
I was kind of Prince of all the ages, including a nice little dirt stash. And
that used to drive people crazy. They couldn't stand that tiny little stash that he would have.
And a puffy shirt as well.
Well, we were talking about this. Moon Tower, of course, is going on this weekend. And Maya Rudolph is doing that show, Princess. And it's just her singing Prince songs. She must be crushed today.
I can't imagine. I mean, he impacted so many people, and like I said, so many friends of mine have reached out, but I have one friend in particular who's just a massive Prince fan, and I even told the story of his accidentally Prince-themed gay wedding, which was hilarious. It was like 90% Prince songs, which ended up being a blast. But, you know, he was talking about how, you know, growing up and being a young gay kid in Scotland and living in the same world where Prince existed, and was just like, he said, I don't think I would be the person I am. Like, I literally just was like, this dude is exactly who he is. Sure. He's fearless. And, yeah, he meant everything to him.
Here over on the iBank today, check this out. Make sure you watch tonight. Sam Morril on the Steve Colbert Show on CBS. Our buddy Sam Morril on Steve Colbert. There's also Chelsea Handler's Naked again, as she does.
It's always good to check out.
Never does it not interest me. Silicon Valley and Veep are back in a big way. And this was bad timing. Sarah Palin was defending Kurt Schilling. That's one of my favorite stories up there today. This is kind of a knotted thing that you want out.
Stand by you, Kurt Schilling.
Yeah.
You're not helping, Sarah.
And I'm sure Vito was shocked of how much bigger that Prince was than China, because she kind of got knocked off. Even the wrestling pages are all about Prince, which was kind of surprising. Here is Rob. Hey, Rob, what's up?
Hey, guy. Hey, Bennington. How's it going?
Good.
Good. I was never a big Prince fan, but you can't help knowing the songs and singing them. And, you know, I'm 36, so when I grew up and he had his big hits in the 80s, it was kind of taboo for us young people to listen to it because there's a lot of sexualized in the song, you know. And but you know, you just played Raspberry Beret, which was one of my favorite songs that I liked from. You can't stop with singing along with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, thanks a lot, Rob. Yeah, you're very right. These songs actually drifted in and out of people who wouldn't be part of it. And I think when they started to sticker albums, Prince was one of the big reasons for the mothers who didn't want their youngins to find out what those Trojans in his pocket were for.
Yeah, I think also, I kind of remember specifically there was this obsession, and it was like on, you know, morning talk shows about like, if your kid has this album, and the issue was Darling Nikki. The song Darling Nikki was just like the most dangerous thing.
Well, I mean, we really didn't bring up that women masturbated in music before. It never was a topic.
Also,
except for Frank Zappa with Dynamo Home.
From Darling Nikki, one of my favorite things was if I crashed at a friend's house and left in the morning, I always left a note that said, "Thank you for a funky time. Call me up whenever you want to grind."
So they were still sleeping?
Yeah. That's how I said, "Thank you for letting me sleep on your couch."
Yeah, I'm sure it was couch. Here's Will. Will.
Hey, there's a Dr. Pepper commercial with a miniature Prince character, and he sings real high, and he's dressed like Prince. I'm wondering if they will continue that commercial now.
Oh, so it's a current commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think I've seen it.
If they do, I'm going to just start breaking Dr. Peppers wherever I get the opportunity.
This is disrespectful.
I don't see too many commercials unless they're all in it's a little kid.
I don't know.
It's like a tiny little man.
Tiny little man.
Where do we see him? That's Prince?
Yeah, that's supposed to be
Prince. That's supposed to, it looks like Prince. It looks like a little child to me. It's not making sense.
It's a white dude.
Not really sure what that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Prince because it looks like Axl Rose.
Could just be just like a general rocker.
Yeah, it could just be. That'd actually be a great name for a band.
The General Rockers?
Yeah.
Or just, I'm General Rocker. Salute me!
Coming up a little later on, live from Austin, Texas, Opie is down. I'm not sure if Jim is there today or tomorrow, because I know Jim's doing his tour, but he'll be at Austin at some point. But a ton of the comics from around here, the Bonfire Boys, are down there. They'll also be performing. And who doesn't love the Bonfire?
Oh, yeah, everybody loves them. Well, that's exciting. They're all out there.
I caught the this little documentary that was done on the Comedy Cellar, and Big J had the funniest line in the whole fucking thing. I mean, I'm not going to give his line away, but for me, he stole it. Let's run it on True TV. Here is Maureen. Maureen, how are you?
Hi, guys. I just going through my Prince memorabilia. I still have my ticket when I saw him in 1984, Purple Rain Tour.
That's perfect.
And it's special guest Sheila E., but it also is written on the ticket, wear something purple.
Smart idea. Smart idea. Let people know how they should be dressed.
Also, I know Stevie Nicks was inspired by Little Red Corvette. She wrote Stand Back, and he came in and played the keyboard on there. And, you know, she said she just was so inspired by the song that she ran in feeling that song, wrote it, called him, her assistant or something, and she said he roared in on his motorcycle, played that little keyboard part, and then just, you know, he said the song was cool, and then he rode away.
You know what's crazy, too, that I remember reading back there, that he used to hang and talk songwriting with Joni Mitchell all the time.
Yeah, I remember that.
Always rumors about those two, but I don't know anything for a fact. I would only hope. But I don't think people, because he was so flamboyant and danced and played, you know, I don't think they realized what a great songwriter he was. Yeah. That's why this last tour makes total sense to me. They're just sitting down at a piano. And I remember after Bowie died, this clip showed up of him just doing Heroes, sitting at the piano, just killing me. And now to know the Prince is gone too. It's unbelievable. Thanks, Maureen. Good to talk to you, darling. It is the Bennington Show. As we said, make sure. Now, Opie and us were going to trade shifts today, but then they had to push back later because of timing issues. But they're also going to be checking out the thing. So this will be our own one show today. If you're listening at, let's say you're listening, it's 1 o'clock right now. Probably not as live as you thought it was. Just say that. Still good.
Yeah.
Joey's here.
Yeah.
Chris is here.
It's still fresh in a way.
Yeah.
Same day.
Here's Kevin in New Hampshire.
Hey, Ron.
Hey.
Big fan. You were talking about the Dr. Pepper commercial earlier. His name is Little Sweet, and it's played by Justin Guarini from season 1 of American Idol.
Yeah, I didn't think that was Prince at all. I know Chris was saying yes over there, and giving a big thumbs up.
He does a really good Prince-ish impersonation, but it's more of like a tribute to him than a parody. It's kind of cool.
All right, here's Dominic. Dominic in Ohio.
Hey, Ron, have you ever had the opportunity to listen to Prince's Black album? It was to be released in the late 80s, but they didn't release it due to some controversy, and they shelved it. And then in the mid-90s, it was finally released. But some of the jams on that album,
it's great.
Incredible.
I actually had it on a bootleg cassette tape that was sent to me by Tom Rhodes. I don't know where he got it.
Really?
But yeah, I used to sit down and listen to it on cassette. And that's why I brought up that song. I think it was called Bob George. And it was a really fucking just strange, funky, weird, experimental album. To be totally honest, I'm not sure if it ever, matters when a Prince album comes out. It never sounded like the Times, and the Times never sounded like it.
Yeah, even a lot of his later albums, you kind of felt like he could have swapped those out for any other, even though, he was kind of just on his own wavelength. It wasn't like he was following some clear cut path. Like this was his phase where he was experimenting with this. And you can't even clock his genre because he moves in and out of, rock and roll and funk and pop and R&B and
then just dirty stripper music.
Yeah.
You ever want, here's why fucking Prince will never leave. Go into any fucking titty bar and somebody's always dancing to Prince.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you know what's weird about titty bars? They have the best sound system. You know what I mean? You're just in there, she's a nasty girl. And everyone's fucking singing that falsetto shit, 69 positions in one night stand. Get up. So much great stuff. Hey, we're going to take a break here. It is the Bennington Show on a Friday. We'll be right back with more Prince. Prince, one of Gail's favorite songs.
One of the best. Working Up a Black Sweat. That album came out, I think, in 2006, maybe. And I was just stunned that he was still making music at that point that was that sexy and cool and different and so wild. I mean, he's the sexiest of all time. I mean, we're talking about him as a musician, him as a writer, him as a style icon, but he's also a sex icon.
Sure.
For me, it was like learning about what sexy was Prince. He just embodied it.
All right, someone wrote to me, what did you take harder this year, Bowie or Prince? Here's the thing. I'm in Prince's generation, so you're never going to feel the same way as you are the people that when you were a little kid. Like when Joey is talking about it sets up that idol thing.
Yeah,
that if
exactly.
you're a young kid that you fall into, and that's how I was with Bowie. With Prince, he was just a guy that I knew that was great, but I never laid in bed at night going, I wonder what Prince is doing. But he was always been amazing. And the fact that, you had the mainstream guy, I mean, it really kind of worked as the Beatles and the Stones of the 80s, where Michael Jackson and Prince.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, Michael Jackson, he's a great little dancer, but most of his songs were kind of sucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was Michael Jackson. I mean, he was phenomenal. But lyrically, there was a lot of embarrassment. And Prince was just dirty and sexy and then also spiritual. It was, night and day.
Yeah, he was, I would imagine to anybody who was not on the level would have thought of him as pretty damn dangerous.
Yeah. Instead of just going, hey, this shit's good, which they should have. Up on the iBank today, a lot of different stories, but this one story won't go away, and that's Kelly Ripa and Michael Strahan, and everybody's supposed to make a choice.
Yeah, I mean, he made the announcement on, what was that, Tuesday?
Yeah. So
then she didn't show up for Wednesday, which was kind of a last minute thing. And then I believe not Thursday, and then she said, I had this time scheduled off.
But she's also not taking his phone calls.
But yes, that's the other thing. She's not taking his phone calls, responding to any of his messages. She is super pissed.
She looks like, because this is the second time this happened to her, that somebody doesn't say, I'm leaving. She looks like a bitch and somebody who's not nice. But apparently they never like each other anyway.
And now they're saying that GMA might take over that hour and that show might go away altogether.
Well, I'm sure she's being threatened back by Disney because you are never too big to fight with Disney. There's no one big enough.
Yeah.
Like Disney's not going to take shit off Barack Obama. You know what I mean? Because they're going to be around longer than everybody.
And that's one of those things where it's pretty futile to fight it because, they're just going to have that mentality like, we'll have a younger, fresher face in here in no time. Like they.
But, Chris, where did you hear this Good Morning America is going to run another hour like that? Because that could probably save them a ton of money.
I read that in the Post this morning.
Well, I'll tell you this. Since Regis is gone, the same guests don't show up that used to. All you got to do is look at it every day. You know, and they're always getting somebody who's been voted off Dancing with the Stars or some shit like that. No answer? She might be into something else. All right. Again, if you're in Austin this weekend, that Princess show should be, with Maya Rudolph, that should be insane.
Oh, yeah.
Whose side you want, Michael Strahan or Kelly Ripa?
Michael Strahan.
Chris?
He's a giant. I have to go Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
I'm going Team Ripa.
And I don't like either. Because A, what happened to Regis, and B, one of them is Michael Strahan. And I just think that he's terrible.
It makes sense. I've discussed this before. The Michael Strahan phenomenon just baffles me.
I know.
How was it? How did that happen?
I'll tell you how it happened. Gelman and Ripa brought him in.
But why? It's still shocking to me that he is that he's this massive broadcaster now.
This is the kind of things that he says that is gets laughs on the show. Let's suppose we looked over and Jojo was drinking a grape soda.
Okay.
Michael Strahan's joke would be, look at Joey drinking up a grape soda. And they laugh.
What?
They laugh all the time.
So confusing. Anytime I see him on TV, I feel like I just have my head cocked like a confused puppy. I'm just like, what's happening? And why is he here? And why is he, why is he talking?
Are you agreeing with Chris that the show's going to be taken over by GMA?
It's possible. I mean, maybe it just doesn't have the power that it had.
All you need is one more host, though, and one of the talks is getting Doogie Howser.
But maybe
to come down in the morning.
See, Doogie would be huge, but Kelly Ripa, I think, would be pretty freaked out for Doogie to show up
Joe,
because he's a massive star.
I think some other rumors have been swirling around that Anderson Cooper might join the show.
I doubt that very much. Here's my prediction. Kelly Ripa is going to hang herself.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
no, Kelly.
On TV?
Kelly, no.
I'll take action on that. Let's go.
She doesn't even have the showbiz savvy to do it on TV. That's the problem.
When I heard about Strahan, first thing that popped into my mind, New York one Pat Kiernan.
Well, we all wanted him the last time.
I mean, give him another chance. I know he had an awkward showing when he did his
I like someone to
guest
read the
host.
paper to me anyway.
I heard
this in the Post today. Young man bought a bag of jelly donuts, and there's a picture of him. He has the jelly donuts. Thanks, Pat.
I heard Ripa's going to join CBS halftime football to get back at Strahan.
You know something? This is the day that we lost Prince. You're from Minneapolis. You think it's a day for kidding around?
You should know better, Joe.
I know.
What's a Saturday for you? Prince or Bowie? Saturday.
I'm still reeling. It's really difficult.
Too much Prince, right?
I think right now it feels like Prince, but I'm in such shock.
All right. Remember I told you before that I have a friend who you met as a little girl?
Yes.
Who was invited back to Prince's place. She, even though she's a mother of darling children who know nothing of her wicked past, is on the line right now. Are we going to use a secret name for her, Chris, or her regular first name?
Well, she seems okay with the. I'm double checking right now.
Double check instead of seams.
Don't seam.
Okay.
No seams.
What name does she want to be on?
Real name's fine.
Okay. Both names? Your first and second?
Double check on both.
Julie, how are you, darling?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Gail. Oh, precious Gail is so grown up and fabulous.
You know, well, you must have remembered just how beautiful Julie is.
She's stunning.
So,
thank you.
One of my favorite stories is you were picked out by Prince. What exactly happened, Julie?
So it was the early 90s. I was in college, and BL and I took a trip out to L.A. to visit some friends. and we went to a club called Bar One, which was on Sunset Boulevard. And we had we just stepped in. We went straight to the bar because, BL and me. And within 5 minutes, this large man approached us and said, "My friend would like to dance with you." And I just thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. And I said, if your friend wants to dance with me, then maybe he should ask me himself. That's kind of stupid, And so he said, "I think you'll change your mind when you meet him." So he leads me over to like this swanky semicircular booth that has just a wall of bodyguards blocking it. And when we walk up, the bodyguard separates, and there he is, just sitting in this red velvet booth. And I could have dropped some. I don't know how I kept my composure because, like all of us, we grew up, to Purple Rain.
Yeah.
And it was so surreal. I almost threw up. So we sat down. He patted the seat next to him in the booth and said, "Please sit." And so I scooted in and I sat in the booth with him. And he asked my name, and then he immediately started asking me starting from my head, if each of my body parts were real. So, we kind of, and he's very funny. And he was very shy, but hysterical, wicked sense of humor. And so we kind of, it was an icebreaker for me to realize that he was personable and a funny guy. So then he says, "I want to dance with you." And, here I'm a white girl from Oklahoma, and so I didn't want to do it, but I couldn't pass up that opportunity, So the bodyguards clear a path for the dance floor. And then that particular night, the cast of 90210.
Oh, perfect.
And so his bodyguards clear the dance floor, and I look over, and there's Brian Austin Green going, "What? What's going on?" And so, we start dancing, of course, to Prince's soundtrack, and it was just the most, and I turned into a black girl real fast because it was, once I got into it, it was so, it was amazing. It was like, this is a memory of a lifetime. So, anyway, after it was all over, BL and I've met BL in the bathroom. We're on the cell phone, like calling everybody in Florida we know, just giggling like schoolgirls. And there's a knock at the bathroom door. And it's Dwayne, who was head of his security, and his half brother, actually. And so Dwayne says, "Prince wants to feed you." Oh my God! And so I said, "Okay, like breakfast tomorrow morning breakfast." He's like, "He wants to feed you now." And so I looked at BL, and I guess BL wasn't invited.
Yeah, of course not.
And she said, "No, you've got to do this. Just go." And so I hopped in the limo, and Prince handed me a cherry Tootsie Pop, and we made our way to his Hollywood Hills spread, and we ate pancakes, and so it was amazing. And then then we actually it sounds really weird, but we continued a really fun friendship over, a couple of years. And I would fly out to LA, and we would go to Glam Slam and different parties. And then, he would take us, like he liked surrounding himself with people who had proved to be kind and didn't want to freeload and didn't want anything from him. And so he kind of he handpicked all these people that were kind of in his little posse, which included a lot of his siblings and his half siblings. And so it would be 3 a.m. and he would and he wouldn't ever tell you. You never had any notice what he wanted to do or where he wanted to go. He would just send Dwayne to rally everybody, and we would just climb in the limo, and then we would drive to this warehouse. and they would pull the limo inside the warehouse, close the doors behind you, and then you'd walk in, and the new Power generation would be just jamming.
That's
and
unbelievable.
Then, I mean, I can't even tell you, like, it's like electricity's going through your body just to experience something so creative and special and authentic and something that nobody else gets to see, you know? And, I mean, and he would always toy around with the synthesizers and make very sexual, you know, sounds with it, and everybody would fall out. And it was an amazing time.
Yeah, that's just stunning to be, you know, it's almost like a movie. You take this small town girl and she's pulled into this, like the center of the musical universe.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. Right. It's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
Prince wants to feed you.
And so, you know, to backtrack a little, when we first arrived at his home and he was giving me a tour of the house, I was surprised by how normal it was. I was expecting it to be like this mausoleum with marble and things you don't touch, you know, and It was really homey. He had rocking chairs and fresh flowers. I mean, it was just really soft and homey.
He's a Midwestern guy.
Yeah, exactly. And he took me by his master bedroom, and I looked in, and I just busted out laughing because his bedspread was the identical pink and green floral Spiegel catalog bedspread that I had on my bed at home.
That's crazy.
Like, super feminine. And then in his bathroom, he just had, I mean, I would say 100 or more bottles of women's fragrance. You know, and he did have a female alter ego who he called Camille, you know, and so he was funny, he was real, and he was bizarre, but not in a harmful way. You know, he was.
Are you saying with Camille he used to cross-dress, or?
I never saw him cross-dress, but even his regular costumes had some femininity to it, you know, ruffles and purple.
But
you know?
but would he talk about Camille? Would he be like, Camille likes this?
Well, he would. I mean, he would refer to Camille, but not in like. He would talk about Camille like it was a different person, not like he's saying I'm Camille. You know.
So bizarre and great,
It's
man.
so
Just
great.
so nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, and so ultimately, I was still in college, and he asked if I would move to LA and if I would help him with Glam Slam. And you know, I said, "Look, I'm still in school. My family's going to kill me." And so I talked it over with my grandparents and my family, and I'm an Oklahoma girl, and I was a people pleaser, and I really knew that they had my best interest at heart, and so they were like, "You can't do this. You can't go." So I didn't go, and that was kind of where I think that was a deal breaker, because I think he felt like I wasn't being as loyal,
right?
You know, as a friend to him. So that's when it started kind of fading off.
But all these memories must have come flooding back yesterday for you.
Surreal.
Yeah.
Just as surreal as the day I met him. You know, it was just, this can't happen, because he was so healthy. You know, he had the most gorgeous skin I've ever seen in my life. It was just porcelain and perfect and youthful, not a line, not a crack, and soft, you know. And he was vegan, and he didn't drink, and he didn't abuse drugs. And so it was just strange. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Well, you know, I know that, like I said, he had bad hips from dancing, and that could get you put on Oxycontin. And, you know, even if it's given to you by a doctor, you never, you know, you could always kind of lose the handle on that. I don't know that that's it, but they are saying that, you know, the other day that he had to be given some kind of shot to bring you back out of it. But I agree with you. I think he looked exactly the same as the early 80s, just the other day. Well, I'm so glad that you called us. I know now being a mommy, you don't always want to go out and tell those stories, but I just love the idea that she was picked out. First of all, just to let you know how beautiful Julie is, she just flies into Sunset Boulevard, and she's the one that Prince
that's
picks
insane.
5 minutes into it.
That's crazy.
It seems crazy unless you ever met her, and then you're like, of course.
Oh, yeah,
that's what we all said. Of course, this happened.
Thank you. And I don't even know that it's necessarily beauty. I think it's just, I have a different thing going on. It's not, one day somebody told me, you don't have that beautiful Marilyn Monroe. This was when I lived in LA. You don't have that beautiful Marilyn Monroe quality about you. You have the odd Lauren Bacall quality about you.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
That's true.
You do have a Lauren Bacall thing. Although I remember the first time I saw you and you were only wearing a vest. There was nothing else. It was over spring break in Daytona. And I'm like, who's that? And they're like, oh man, she knows BL. They were Pauly Shore. I'm like, of course they are. Julie, I love you, darling. Thank you so much for calling us.
It was so great to hear from you, and it's such an incredible story.
I love it. I love you guys. Thank you.
All right, talk to you later. Bye, honey.
Bye.
How crazy is that, though?
Oh, my God. It's the most wild thing. First of all, that's like any girl's fantasy and maybe even any boy's fantasy. It's just like there's a room full of women and you're being like, no, her. I mean,
dude, it's Cinderella. It's literally the Cinderella story. You know what I mean? Like, you go to the thing and the prince sees you and asks you to dance and everybody parts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally a fairy tale that she lived. And when she told us that, we were like, it was hysterical. And the fact that Prince had matching pajamas for the both of them. These are going to be your pajamas. Now let me smell your skin. And he just sat and smelled her skin for a while.
I love that he asked if every part of her was real, starting from the head down.
Yeah. Let's go over this. What parts are real and not real?
But also just that sweet moment of her and her girlfriend, which is BL, in the bathroom, just like, no, you have to go. You're going. I mean,
of course,
it's crazy.
But you know what? BL would have also said that if she was talking to a Coke dealer.
This is magic. It's fate. You guys are meant to be. And he has all the cocaine. Go.
BL is not the wingman that you're looking for in life. But I did meet Julie through BL down in Florida. And, when I was told that story, I'm like, yeah, of course Prince did that. Why wouldn't he? It is it's a sad day, but at the same time, you remember all these great things. Let's play another Prince tune. Who gets the pick here, Gail? Who's running through? Is this a Joey?
Yeah, I'll take it. So I was biking home yesterday from here, and I'm not exaggerating. Just on the route, 2nd Avenue over the bridge, taking Brooklyn, I maybe heard 11 cars just blasting Prince. Everyone listening to him. I finally get back to my neighborhood. I'm about 2 blocks away, and the last song I heard was I Want to Be Your Lover. And I would like to play that now because of that.
You started crying.
Yeah, well, I got emotional.
Yeah. That's as much as a Midwestern guy like him. He's from Minneapolis, so he felt something. Well, it's a great tune. Yeah, Prince wants to feed you.
Go to him.
You like a blow pop? He's got one in the limo. It is the Bennington Show. We were just talking about the great story that my friend Julie told me. And we used to make her tell all kinds of shit like that. Because we just love those stories.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a dream, honestly. That's crazy. She is so incredibly beautiful, so it makes perfect sense. Yeah. But it's still like the craziest story of all time.
This is the hilarious thing about Prince, because, we all love Prince and Camille. And that's Camille, of course, it's his alter ego. Camille! But there was this guy, he was hired as Prince's chef, right? And Everything was going great, except for Prince didn't like the cakes that he was making. He was like, no, make the kind of cake that I like, that tastes like a good cake, like when I was a kid. So we'd go through and he'd have all these things, and Prince wouldn't like it. And, Prince would say, we would eat these cakes when I was younger. They're so delicious. And finally, the chef just makes a box cake, just an instant cake. And Prince is like, perfect. That's what Prince is looking for.
I love it.
Because he was like raised a half a ghetto kid. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like he didn't, just because you get rich doesn't mean you immediately.
That your taste immediately changes.
Yeah. Here's a blow pop. Enjoy it. Eat it slow.
Let me make you some pancakes.
And then when he didn't move out there, he was like, his feelings were hurt.
I know. He's sensitive. Sensitive artist.
Let's face it, her grandparents fucked her up. They should have said, go to him.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but Julie should have went.
Cherry Tootsie Pop here from Prince. Hey, by the way, tonight, our buddy Sam Morril on the Big Steve Colbert Show.
I'm so excited for that.
Also this weekend, Silicon Valley, Chris's favorite show.
Can't wait.
TJ Miller is back. Veep is back this weekend. And here's a little Sam Morril thing. I don't know whether they bleeped this out or changed it. They wouldn't let him use a certain word. It did not pass the censors. And that word, from what I understand, bimbo.
What?
Bimbo?
Whoa.
Really?
Oh, it's a disgusting word. It's horrible.
I didn't realize.
Okay.
Yes. It's the actual title for bimbo. What it actually means is a woman who wears her vagina lips on the outside of her pants.
Okay, I see why that would be censored.
Hence, bimbo. Get it now?
Now,
bimbo.
Like, for example, like Chris is a real bimbo. Like, if you need to use it in a sentence.
Now, their problem was with bimbo is that it applies that women are stupid. But you got to be honest here. Some women are stupid.
Sure.
Now, this, by the way, Steve Colbert, the same show last night that poured Bailey's on cereal and called it an Irish breakfast. Called it an Irish continental breakfast. But Irish people are like this. Well, we do drink a lot. We got that coming to us.
Not a lot.
What are you going to do? But they're the only people who still have a sense of humor about themselves, the Irish. Now, here's the great thing about this. Since Steve Colbert has taken over the Steve Colbert Show, our boy Sam Morril is only the third comic to do it. Maria Bamford, who is Stephen Colbert's favorite comic, has done the show. And Jerry Seinfeld has done the show doing stand-up. And now Sam Morril. I don't know whether you could hear me over Joe's growling belly, but did you see Did you see how bad he felt about it?
He felt terrible.
Not now, stomach.
It was crazy.
Like, Tommy, I'll feed you later.
Somebody's hungry. But that's so exciting for Sam. I cannot wait for it.
How about this, though? I got two buddies. One, Julie, invited into the lair, the Prince lair, giving matching clothes. Chance to meet Camille. The other buddy, Flats, is told not to look him in the eyes and only referred to him in the third person, which means, can I get Prince anything?
Right.
Yeah. Is Prince having a good day today? I mean, I wouldn't even know how to do it.
Yeah, you would be just constantly tripping. Prince is.
That's the weirdest, right? Jay in Pennsylvania.
Or is Prince happy with Camille today?
Yeah, boy, we lost them both.
Hey, yeah, real quick, what you were saying before about the blow pop, I mean, that was a great story by Julie. It just reminded me of that, my favorite line from Purple Rain was when he said, Yamora says to Apollonia, you make a lollipop only too happy on your lips. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, the guy was just an enigma, just somebody, doesn't remind you of anybody else, just a true artist. But it just reminded me of, it just brings me right back to, growing up in the 80s, I'm the football guy, and so I'm just trying to do the whole jeans and T-shirt move. And yet, here's a guy who could come around with, platform shoes and, women's outfit and just totally steal your woman. And it just, it amazed me because as I was coming of age at that time, I remember I went to see that movie, The Last Dragon, and I'm thinking of, cheerleaders of the day. But when I saw that movie, Vanity was in that movie, and, Vanity was the one that he named because she was the female version of himself. And so when I saw her, it was just like game over. I felt like, is it going to be him or is it going to be me?
Yeah, she was stunning, man. She was stunning.
I was thinking like, who couldn't this guy get? I mean, I don't know if Gail had any friends that wouldn't go for him, but I was just like, it's impossible to think that he couldn't get any woman. I mean, he could get any woman, and they're completely powerless. If he tells you to do something, you're doing it. And it brought me back to what his wife said yesterday when she was like, after being with him, guys would try to write me poems and love letters, and she was like, don't even bother. You can't do better. I cannot love somebody better than him. So it's over.
Well, I've been told the same thing about exes, that I ruined them for men from that point on, but for a whole different reason. Now I'd like to apologize. But yeah, that would be weird. I mean, what's she going to do after Prince? Go out with a fucking movie producer?
Yeah, nothing's going to be as good. But
wait, I hope Julie's husband isn't listening. I'm sure you're very nice.
But he was talking about how, he was just irresistible to women despite the fact that he was short, he was petite, he was kind of weird. And this was a few years ago. I was having a conversation with a group of girls, and we were talking about if you could be with one person on earth, who would it be? And I was like, Prince, easily Prince. And only one girl was like, nah, I'm not into it. And we're like, yes, you would be. I guarantee it. Like, even if you think that you wouldn't.
Yeah, but what if there were like a couple people standing there? Like on one side, Prince, the other, Haystacks Calhoun.
Go Haystacks.
It would be tough to say no.
I would.
To a guy like that. I mean, he's got the big, overalls on. He's not wearing any shoes. That upside down horseshoe around.
Beautiful. He's a beautiful man.
And he's with Tony Garea. Tony Garea comes over like this. Haystacks wants to feed you.
Yes,
what?
Please.
Okay.
Haystacks has a snow shovel full of snacks.
It's mostly pork products.
Yeah, a lot of pork. One is a giant ham that he wants to speed eat against you.
Please don't make me do it.
Now, the piece up on the iBang where the kid is scaring his dad over and over, to you, is this funny? Because I think you sent it in, right, Joe? As or was it you?
I sent it in
as a hilarious moment. But I also think that what's the title on it, Chris?
It's
Oh, never mind. We got it now. It's watches this kid scares his old man over and over again. Chris found it funny. I thought it was borderline abuse.
Okay.
But as it goes on, at a certain point, you think it's funny because he hasn't had the police remove this kid from his house. But just play a little bit of it.
Garrison! There's your fucking guys! I'm gonna kick you in the ass. Garrison! Jesus, man. You little fucker. One of these days, boy. Garrison! You bugger!
Garrison!
Jesus Christ! Boy! Garrison! There, boy, stop it! Shit, you!
Garrison!
For Christ's sake, boy.
Garrison!
The old man never has fun.
Jesus Claire, for goodness sakes, boy. Girls! Girls!
Please.
Girls! There, for goodness sakes, boy. Take it off. I'm telling you, you're going to get it by the Christ.
All right. If you went like back to Bam and Phil, right?
Yeah.
You could tell that Phil loved Bam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You always got that. This guy just seems miserable.
He really
with
looks
his
tortured.
kid.
Jesus, boy!
And he falls so slow. This one is the most embarrassing.
It's
the
so
way he just slow falls and then holds his elbow. He looks like he needs someone to protect him.
He really does.
They have a great dynamic, those two.
But you found it just straight funny, right?
I found it funny. The guy, it's the old. He's just so surprised every single
But it's
time.
abuse. I mean, at a certain point, it's just straight abuse.
I also like that a good 75% of these scares also involve a goose on the ass. But he has this great thing where he looks like he's being shot when he's scared. Like
we
he's
should
just like,
Vito should just go back and do fucking gun sounds through the whole thing.
What you say?
Oh yeah, what was that from?
That was from, it was like an SNL sketch that was a parody of the OC. I guess it was like an OC episode.
That was the funniest shit
it
ever.
It was so funny, and then everyone just started doing their own parody version. So they were taking, different people who'd been shot from movies and then adding that song.
That's the funniest shit ever.
I just like watching the seasons change with all these pranks. Just on what he's wearing.
The guy doesn't get a season that he can relax. And that sometimes like a leaf will fall on him and he probably jumps because he can't relax for a second. He never has a moment where he sees like he likes his kid.
He really doesn't. Jesus, boy.
Let's see the Chelsea handler. Are we looking at titties or ass this time?
It's covered up titties.
Full frontal.
Covered up. Then why do we want it?
But
it's got to be some non-covered up.
This is like full frontal though, and she's giving.
Oh, is it
like
the famous bars?
Obscured. This is, what does she actually have in front of her vagina?
I think it's like a plant.
Yeah. At first I thought it was like some dank weed, but I think it's just like, I think it's just like she put like a little succulent in front of her vagina.
I think it's a bonsai tree. If I had to guess myself, and she should do a thing, trim her bonsai, where a lucky fan could go in and kind of work on it.
And bonsais are not easy to take care of. So,
I know that from Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
He explained to us how difficult it is.
They need a lot of love and care.
I think we're going to break again, Chris, because we've got Rory Scoville coming in a bit.
In about 15 minutes, yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
so let's break now, and we'll come back and play some Prince. Now, 3 o'clock today is when you can hear Opie live in Austin.
Yes, he'll be live at 3 p.m. East.
And from what I understand, he's joined a country band down there.
Wow.
And yeah, he might not come back because he's loving that Austin
Just loving this
scene.
lifestyle.
Yeah, food trucks and just
sounds great.
Outlaw country. Yeah, it just sounds fantastic. What is the barbecue that they say you got to wait in line for 2 hours?
I don't know the name of the place, but they have like a specific.
I wouldn't wait in line for Stones tickets. Look at it. It's something like Franklin's or Franklin's.
Franklin Barbecue.
Franklin's, yeah. They claim it's the best barbecue in the country, and people start to line up hours before. And I'm like, I didn't even line up for Led Zeppelin tickets. I don't know if I'm going to do that for fucking brisket. I'd be more likely to do it for brisket, though. What you say? Look, who's this talking about playing basketball with Prince?
That's on the right here.
Yeah,
that's Torre, who used to be on MSNBC.
Well,
because he also wrote a book about Prince.
There's Mark Goodman's up there too. Oh, this is on Morning Joe. Did Mark, we just saw him out there eating his breakfast a second ago.
He gets around.
Well, he's a big... You all right, Joe?
He's
Yeah,
so
my
hungry.
stomach is really rumbling this morning.
You know, that may cost you this room.
You're gonna have to quiet down
You're gonna
that
have to have
tummy.
some morning food. Is what you
Yeah,
need.
I gotta go eat.
Okay, so you finished it. All right. Break. We'll come back with a little more Prince. And really, truly, one of the funniest people ever, Rory Scoville, stopping by today. This is Bennington. That is, of course, the great Prince. We lost him yesterday, which means one thing. Rory Scoville just moved up
That's
in
right.
the celebrity sex symbol.
One notch up. And people were waiting. They're
Yeah.
like, don't worry. You're going to get up there.
Well, I told you a year ago, I go, the thing about you is you're going to outlast them. I go, you're not going to shoot to the top.
You're a slow burn. You'll get there.
You know what? They don't see you coming either. Nobody sees you moving. You can see Rory this weekend. That's tonight, tomorrow night at the Carolines Comedy Club in New York City. You can use the promo code RSFunny for $10 off the ticket. Here's the thing about Roy too. No matter, you got so many things going, but you don't give up on the stand-up.
I'll never stop. No.
Is that right?
I think once you've got, like, I guess it sounds so cheesy to say, like, you've been bitten by the bug, but I think once you got that addiction, once you go on stage once and it works,
right,
you're pretty addicted to that feeling, and you're just kind of seeking it out constantly. So I don't think it could. I think the only way it could go away is when you just take a break because you've maybe been going every single weekend.
Well, has anyone ever walked away from a successful comedy career? I think
Steve Martin is the
Steve Martin is
known.
the go-to.
Just because he was also doing stadiums, and he was like, "All right,
And-
can't do more than this."
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Either that, or you just got to sell out Idaho. You just you stop
entire
everybody.
state. Yeah.
You go over in a hot air balloon with an arrow through your head. The place goes crazy.
Karaoke machine just on there.
Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is another guy who couldn't get much bigger. Walked away.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to be at that peak. You know, I think.
Well, a lot of people walk away that we've never heard of.
I think this is as big as it gets for me.
Yeah.
I did a 300-seater. I know my limits. There's no 350 theater for me.
Well, I think everyone, that at a certain point will be on the road and just go, what the fuck am I doing? Because the funny thing about stand-up is you could have just done the greatest show in history, and only the people in that room will ever know it.
Yeah. Which is also something kind of special about it, too. Like, when something does happen, at least for the sake of the audience, like, there's something kind of fun to know that if something did happen spontaneously at any given show, it kind of feels special to be like, I think that was just for right now. Like, that, person heckled, and then they said this, and it kind of led to this sort of moment that we won't see again. I think that's kind of neat. But going back to what you're saying, I think it's kind of true that any job kind of becomes a job. No matter how much you start off and you go, well, this is my passion and I love it. It's like, but at some point repetition kicks in and you are just kind of like, all right, I'm kind of going through the motions here. And,
Well, I remember I played Dream Week baseball where you play with all the ex-pros. And this guy who had been actually won an MVP in the All-Star games going like this. He goes like this to me. He's smoking and he's drinking beer out of a Pepsi can as he's coaching third. And he goes like this. Fucking baseball. Oh, fuck you over before you know it. I'm just playing Dream Week, not break my Dream Week.
Yeah. Having the time of your life. He's doing that at the Make-A-Wish games, too. Baseball, you kids don't even know. It'll kill you. That's inappropriate.
But it is true that most people would have killed early on and then still be pissed about what happened. But they would have killed someone if they thought, oh, I'm playing Carolines in New York City.
Right, yeah.
But it's always so weird to me that somebody's playing Carolines in New York City and going, the fucking Louis C.K. He's just living the life,
Yeah, even if you look and you're like, well, you're on the steps. You're like moving in a great direction. Like, it doesn't matter. Someone else has always got the life.
Yes, somebody else, Someone brought up to me Ray Romano's deal. You know what I mean? Like the fact that when his things started to sell around the world. And I'm like, but that's a lottery ticket. That's That's nothing that you could shoot for to suddenly have the sitcom named after you that you created that went perfectly.
Yeah. And for that long and was that successful. Yeah.
And after you get that thing, the adrenaline kind of wears off. It's so hard to sit back and appreciate, like, oh, this was the thing I wanted, and now I have it.
It doesn't work that way.
And no matter what, even if you've got people in your life who are like, hey, you've got this really great life, or you've got this really great gig, and you're like, nah, but it's shit.
I think in stand-up, maybe it's like that, maybe for a lot of stand-ups, because the whole nature of the business is you can't really look behind you or kind of in the moment too much, because you always got to be thinking about work coming up, just because there's no, hey, every Friday you get a paycheck. It's like, well, that's not the case. You got to keep hustling and try to get gigs and keep improving, so that when you get to those things that you were shooting for, you're already thinking about the next thing. So like in that instance where it's like, well, you've got this hit TV show, and you're like, yeah, but now I'm becoming depressed because my brain's been driven to think ahead, and now I've reached the top. I don't know what the next thing to think about is.
Well, the thing is, in any other thing of the arts, you could just go there and perform the songs that they loved, right? So Prince had built a catalog. Comedians do not build a catalog that they can come out and give to the world.
Yeah.
It's stale.
Right.
Instead of, oh, this reminds me of, high school, they're like, you fuck. You lazy prick.
It gets dated immediately because that's the thing. It's got to stay present.
Yeah.
If it's super like referential, or like, even if it's like, kind of with the times, like society wise, it's like, well, even that will change in a decade or two. Even the slowest thing is going to change in 20 years. So then it's like you look back and you're like, I can't really relate to that anymore.
But also, even when you see a special, it is already one level back from being in the room, right?
Right.
There's some energy in that room, particularly if someone is improvising or doing crowd work. There's a certain feeling of danger that if you're watching on TV, you just don't feel.
It doesn't translate the same way, because you're kind of not like walking the tightrope with them.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, because when you're in the room, you're like, this could all fall apart at any second. And there's something exciting about it.
For all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
and then,
all of us.
When you're watching on TV, you're like, well, if I'm seeing this on TV, it's been pre-approved. There's no danger in this. I either will like it or I won't like it. Yeah.
Just a cutaway to a woman laughing at a different joke.
Oh, well, they're enjoying it. I guess maybe I should lighten up if the people there loved it so much.
And if you were in the room, you laugh harder. I mean, that's like laughter is so infectious.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you could watch a special and it's like fallout funny, and like maybe you'll laugh aloud a little to yourself. But if you were in the room, you would be losing it, because it's kind of infectious to be around people who are giving it up like that and watching the comedian react to you.
I think if you're looking at TV, the best thing for a stand-up is that old school walk out and do 5 minutes on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
With your best material. It's a hit song. Everybody can go, oh, okay, this small thing is a part of what this person does. Somehow that even works better than if you watch an hour special.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, it kind of like makes them want to seek out more of it. Always the leaving them wanting more kind of philosophy. And I think with a special, the best you can try to do when you put it out is just try to be as honest and genuine as possible. To be like, this is what it is like at my show. So if you were like, oh, this does look fun, maybe it convinces people to be like, we should go see this person when they're, in town. Try to convince them like, hey, look how much fun this was. Because you're right, it won't translate the same on TV, but if you can just find a little bit of it to convince them, they should come out.
And as far as being dated, like, we don't realize this now, but the name Bernie Sanders is going to mean nothing in 4 years. Yeah. It's just like if you see Sarah Palin today, she's just a person. You know what I mean? But there was a time, 8 years ago, where that was really about as culturally relevant as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
You don't want to be doing Kardashian jokes that stay somewhere. I'm trying to think. I always think that Carlin's stuff aged well, I think, because it's about the human condition.
And so philosophical, too.
Yeah.
It's almost like that kind of stuff. Certain aspects of that stuff.
Right.
It's like, well, that can't die. That's just such a bigger idea anyways.
It's human philosophy in the same way that we read the Greeks and you just put the book down. You're like, you're wrong. You're right. I should get a divorce. What am I doing?
Right.
But, as we were discussing, Bill Hicks was that way.
Yes.
Mostly because so many of the problems are the same.
Oh, yeah.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. He was lucky to be there at the beginning of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Because, you don't want to have any Vietnam references.
Right. Yeah. Like, wow, this guy goes way back.
Well, Rory Scoville, always hilarious, no matter where you see him, and performing stand-up at Caroline's Comedy Club in New York City. For tickets, use the promo code RSFunny for $10 off the ticket. Always go to RoryScoville.com for additional dates. But this is the other thing that's funny about a stand-up. You have to learn how to act, which is kind of a different thing.
Yeah.
There's not another art form that you like. If you do this really well, you can move into a different art form.
Yeah.
Completely.
I think that's why you see, or at least you used to, and maybe it's kind of coming back now, but like in the 80s and a little bit of the 90s when so many stand-up comics were getting these TV deals that were all like multi-camera sitcoms.
Yeah.
It was like, well, that's kind of the, that's not such a reach in the world of like acting. Like, yes, it is acting, but it's more like, hey, just make sure the joke and the setup work. You don't trouble yourselves with too many emotions when you're delivering your lines.
Just try not to look in the camera.
Exactly. And then now I think maybe just because the flavor of comedy has changed, where no comics like myself, when I started, there was no delusion that, hey, if you're funny enough, you'll have a sitcom. It's like, that seemed to kind of like end and go away. And so there's also a different style of comedy happening now that isn't so much set up punchline where you could listen to it. Like Ray Romano. You listen to that and you're like, that joke is one episode on its own right there, and I can see the whole thing. There's a lot of comics now that it's so personality based instead of situation based that in a way it kind of works better for acting on TV. So if they can pull it off even a little bit, if they can act even a little bit, it's like, well, now you're out of that multicam sitcom world. You can probably pull off, a show on like Netflix or, especially now they have all these outlets, Hulu, and not that a network is going to be like, hey, you're subpar at acting. Let's see if we can't get you $1 million.
So let's focus on the least likable, most unpleasant side of your personality, because comics, when they play themselves now, are just the biggest assholes
Dark.
ever.
Yeah. It's almost like they're going to confession with their TV show. Like, the world needs to know I'm not so happy or nice.
And really, we were saying Larry Sanders was kind of the beginning of that, like portraying yourself.
Right.
You're being yourself, but you're being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Larry Sanders, it might have been the first comedy that no one was likable.
Yeah.
All the characters, and then all the guests, like Vince Vaughn would come on there and be an asshole.
Right.
Elvis Costello was a terrible person.
Yeah.
And you're like, really?
I think there's a certain way to pull it off. I mean, Danny McBride with Eastbound and Down probably pulled off the most amazing, horrible person that you just routinely cheer for.
Yeah.
Even though if you met that person in real life, you're like, no, you should be murdered. You're a horrible person.
His pilot episode is better than most movies. If you just watch that, and it ends with him throwing the topless girl, off. He's just blasting around on a jet ski in a lake.
Yeah.
Everything about him was just so low rent. But he was so smart, too, that he was the first person to really tap into the Great White Slide, where you're like, oh, yeah, white people stop trying. You know what I mean? Like, white people do all the things now that they used to bitch about other people doing. So that thing was just perfect.
Yeah.
Also, one of, if not the best cocaine scene I've ever seen.
When they're at the bar?
When they're at the bar, he's pointing a gun at each other. They're just in this really bad fucking conversation that they're locking eyes on.
They're talking about string cheese incident.
You're just wishing, hey, I wish Vinyl would have watched this before they went into their fucking snorting napalm scenes that they have.
Yeah.
So uncomfortable. Did you do any research?
No.
Because you were saying Scorsese, he has done research.
Yeah, Scorsese researched coke for at least 20 years.
Yeah. Well, that's how long it takes to really know how to capture it.
You know what?
Yeah.
This isn't good for us.
But then
I'm starting to really feel bad about it.
But how did they miss the mark so badly over and over? Every time there was a coke scene, you're like, come on.
He's just screaming. calm down, dude. You just did a bump. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else happened.
Ripping the rear view mirror off his car so he could do lines off it.
Put on your key. You got a fucking key.
Relax, dude.
This was a time before people were doing key bumps. You had to rip a mirror off something.
Well, also, then he was hallucinating and seeing dead friends that he forgot were dead.
Get out of here.
I don't know where you get your coke from. Dude,
Yeah,
but
I think people make that mistake sometimes with like pot in movies or TV shows where like it's so dangerous where it's like, well, they're just high. They're not.
Yes.
No one's like, let's drive a car off a cliff. Like no one's high and ever wanting to do that.
And there is always hallucinations in pot movies.
Yeah.
And you wonder, you're like, what strain are they smoking?
I remember the first time I would have been in like 8th or 9th grade, and smoking the first joint was very nerve-wracking because I'd had health class, and they were telling us how terrible. And I remember just going like this, those fucking liars.
Yeah.
And then from that point, I was off to the races. I didn't believe them about any drug.
See, that's the problem when you lie about it. If they were present it in a more realistic way, you know, I mean, when I was a kid, all of those DARE classes, they talked about pot like it was the most dangerous thing on earth.
Yeah. I think they're learning that all that was a huge mistake.
I think
being dishonest about the effects of it, and I mean, look at it now. Like we grew up on like DARE and telling us how bad pot was, and now we live in a world where most states are like, we're legalizing it. We were kidding.
But
It's all right.
I'm watching TV today, and they're acting crazy about this bathroom rule. And the woman on, it was Fox and Friends, was saying, what if my daughter is in there unopposed, and men just start wearing dresses into the, and I'm like, I haven't even seen a little kid in a men's room without his dad in 20 fucking years.
Right,
No one just says go off to the pisser. You know?
And also that could just happen now. Like if that's a legit fear, that can always happen. It's not like this law. They're like, well, now I'm legally allowed to molest children. Like, no, that doesn't really change the situation.
Nothing would stop anyone from, if they did a good enough job walking into a ladies' room dressed as women.
I always find people that don't really look at a situation with an open mind. I find like they always attach themselves to one argument, and like because that one I've heard 1,000 times already. It's like, well, I don't want my. I mean, even Kurt Schilling got fired for posting basically the same idea, and it's like, I don't think you've thought this through. I think you heard someone else say it, and you're like, yeah, that's right. What if that does happen?
Personally, I would have been against Kurt Schilling ever since he left Philly and went to Arizona. To me, that's when he became a dead man.
Yeah.
So any failure he's had since, I'm happy.
Yeah. Now he's unemployed.
Well, that was after he, remember, he blew all that money up in, I don't know where it was, like Rhode Island or something. He took a huge amount of money. He was going to bring video gaming to Rhode Island. Just went through it like there was nothing in the world. And just bad day after bad day since then. You got to just OJ it and get a movie made out of himself. Something.
Get it? Just get a Bronco. But no one cares. No one's even following it.
Just let him go.
Kurt Schilling, he's tweeting. He's trying to tell us all that we should be chasing him right now, but I guess
They're
no
like,
one.
Schilling. Why is that name familiar from
Schilling.
somewhere? Was his sock bleeding?
Was he a highlight? Did he play highlight?
That is, I don't think there's any kind of, I mean, the amount of people from sport who are remembered is so small. And even now, you're wearing a Vikings.
Yeah.
Now, even most people in Minnesota can probably only name 6 or 7 of the guys that are in the game. And yet they're diehard Vikings. No one knows the offensive line.
I like the best is when they're angry at that guy. They're like, that dude fucked up. What's his name? I don't like him anymore. Even though
I feel like the only time you really get it is hockey. You go to any hockey game, they don't even use the last names. They know the players so well. If a player misses a shot, they're like, come on, Michael. Hit it better than that, Michael. Pay attention. Like, how do you even know who's also it's going so fast? How do you know who did what? Oh, did you see Tim hit that guy? Like, just say the last names. We all know the last names.
This is the beauty of hockey too. You could be a giant hockey star, incredibly well paid, but still walk through the mall with only
Nobody has any clue.
No one knows.
In fact, if anyone notices you at all, they're like, that guy's huge. I bet he plays hockey or football.
Right.
That's the most that they know.
Well, for some reason, let's say with the Giants, they all go to this steakhouse at this. this is all they know about New York City because they live in Jersey. So once a week, they all come into New York, same steakhouse, eat, and then go back to Jersey.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
When there's so much to do.
Yeah.
And there's so many options in one small place. And they're like, we've got our steak. When you hate it to find out, too, it's like just like a Ryan's steakhouse. It's not even like, it's not even fancy.
Well, a steakhouse is a steak. And when people are like, what's the best steakhouse? I go to one near your house. Why are you
Go
coming?
try that one.
Yeah. You're not going to get a better prepared steak just because you're in Chicago or Philly or New York. You can get a steak most places.
We go into Manhattan every Thursday before the games on Sunday, and we just go to Wendy's. We go to a Wendy's. We love their burgers. There's no Wendy's in Jersey. We haven't looked. We haven't Yelped. We probably could have Yelped and found out.
We don't have a lot of free time where they trust us to be on our own.
The bus only goes to this Wendy's, so that's what we do.
Well, how many people do you think have that experience with New York? Either they pass through or they just commute in. That they have
tons.
They come to work, they maybe go to their couple lunch spots, and they peace out of here as fast as they can.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when first times I come to New York, I probably stayed in a 4 or 5 block radius and thought I would see New York.
Yeah.
But there is, but the one thing is though, there is so much to do in a 4 or 5 block radius where it's like, if you were there for 2 years, you probably still haven't done everything in that 4 or 5 block. I think that's to me, that's why it's crazy to not explore New York City. It's like, cause there's so much you couldn't possibly be like, all right, I did it all. I'm done.
Yeah. But the fact too, when you're in New York is that you finally start to say, okay, it's neighborhoods connected, and Chicago's the same way where you're like, I'm kind of in a different place than I was just 2 minutes ago. But most people just see the big buildings when they get here and they're like, I could never. This is too much. It's all too fast.
Right.
Yeah, you start to kind of glue those neighborhoods together in your mind. I think that's how I kind of first started. Although I think I'm worse than I was when I was a kid. When I moved here, I was like a teenager, like 14 years old. And so I think I had a better sense of direction because I wasn't on my phone looking at a map.
You used to call yourself the queen of mass transit. And that's, I'm not even making that up. She could tell you where to get off.
QMT.
Yeah. Where to get off, where to get on the train so you're right there at the steps.
Yeah.
You were obsessed with it. But yeah, well, even like when Prince died yesterday, every person here was on their phones, and we were all like, well, we should just mourn this loss together. But we weren't. We weren't really fully together because you're talking to other people while it's going on.
Yeah. And you got to have something to say. You got to get involved in the online mourning.
Oh, yeah. You've got to be one of the people who says, now I finally know what it feels like to hear doves cry. Over and over and over. I love nothing better than fucking bad tweets that try to be poetic when someone dies.
There's so many out there. They're so good.
Some by people that you admire normally.
Yeah.
And then they do shit like that.
They're sensitive. They're sensitive folks.
Yeah.
But not only social media, but I had so many people who sent me text messages. Remember that time? We were listening to that record, or we were watching Purple Rain together. So many friends. And you think if we didn't have this, we would have said, hey, let's all get together and talk about this.
You would have had a way different experience.
We probably all would have met at a bar and talked about, man, I can't believe that Prince is gone. But instead, we're like, we feel like we've done this.
We've covered the bases. In 5 minutes, we all let each other know.
We're in a group text.
Right.
The next big chill will just be Texas. Just people texting. Yeah, college
just 90 minutes.
Unbelievable.
90 minutes. It just keeps cutting to people in different situations texting.
You've changed.
We've got to brace ourselves for the next rock god that dies. It's happening.
I know.
So fast.
And why is it happening so frequently?
Yeah.
And who's next?
I mean, this is life, guys. This is life. This is what we just have to deal with this.
It's true.
Yeah.
Everybody dies.
I think what you have to ask yourself, was Prince ever even here? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what when I heard the news, I go, oh, I didn't even know he was ever here.
Right. Well, I saw plenty of tweets that said we had him on loan and now he's in the afterlife making everybody happy.
Yeah. We were just his rehearsal.
Right.
That's it. Someone tweets that and it's like, well done.
Yeah.
I guess the rehearsal's over. On to the big show. Good for you. That's how you mourn right there.
Chris, whose tweets do you go to if someone dies?
I like to go to like politicians. Like I'll go to like Obama.
Obama came up with a big one.
Yeah.
What about for you, Joe?
Patton Oswalt. I think he does pretty good.
Let's go over what Patton's tweets were.
Right, yeah.
Patton he's always there for...
he's always there for a poetic moment for everybody.
Yeah.
That's funny. I'm not a social media guy.
And you're better for it.
You know what? I'm a media guy. That's what I try. I worked in the media. Right, there's him in the picture. Try to stop it. I keep going down. Find us a good one.
Okay.
Find the one with the Grim Reaper.
All right. Grim Reaper. I'm so sorry, Prince. It's all right. Grim Reaper singing. I never meant to cause you any trouble. Prince laughs. Purple heart emoji.
I like that he's like, Prince laughs.
He's actually writing, spec script on this.
I would like 60 pages by tomorrow just to see where we go with this Prince and the Grim Reaper story.
I'm willing to watch it. You got to be careful before you put that word. You don't want to be one of the first people because you might be caught up in the early emotion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's like that moment with, news sources that you're like, I don't want to be the person who says, oh my God, this is the case, and it's not.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that with Bowie, I was up late when the news broke, and I was like, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to sit here, and I'm just going to keep refreshing things until somebody goes, this is stupid, this isn't real, this is a rumor.
Right.
So, it's so bizarre. I mean, we even had that feeling yesterday where we're like, this can't be true.
Just
Even
TMZ,
more so.
because we went, well, it's just TMZ. Let's get somebody else besides them. But Joey's from Minneapolis, and your whole town just lost it.
Completely broken up.
Yeah.
Everyone in downtown Minneapolis, outside of First Avenue, the club there.
I was watching Adrian Peterson actually stopped hitting his kid with a stick and said, wait.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You know what?
Maybe a moment of silence.
You know what I finally realized through Prince's death? This is wrong.
Yeah.
I like that though. I like that. I mean, especially like where he's from.
Yeah.
That makes it pretty great too. I think what I like is that, and you don't know who, like, on the bigger grand scale is truly, like, mourning these things. But someone like David Bowie and someone like Prince, to see, like, a lot of people in mourning, and the only way we would see it is through media or social media.
Right.
It is kind of, like, good to know that you're like, all right, no one's forgetting quality art.
It's true.
People are like,
he's
all right,
a real
good. No,
artist.
exactly. People are like, I mean, these two were so eccentric and different, and who knows what they went through growing up by being themselves, to come out on the other side like, nope, I'm pretty sure I'm going to stick with exactly who I am. Like, that's the one thing you just go, all right, well, either way, had they lived, were you ever going to see, like, if Bowie was still alive right now, are you ever going to see him again? Is he putting out another thing? Like, who knows? But with him gone, you're like, all right, now who's the next person to step up and be like, no matter what you think of me, I'm this genuine artist, and I'm going to stop, I'm going to make quality music or quality whatever art. It's kind of fun to look at, because that's usually, it's only like in death that inspires the next person to step up.
And then you're able to finally wrap it around, you get your head around their entire career. Like, we wouldn't have been able to have this conversation, but although we did talk about Bowie and Prince a lot in our life, but it's hard to say exactly where they fit. Where you're like, yesterday, you're like, well, of course he's the best. You know what I mean?
Right.
Of course he's with Hendrix. He's just as good. He's just as good as Smokey Robinson, just as good as Sly Stone, just as good as but we weren't saying that before it happened.
Yeah, which is always it's such a back and forth. It's like, well, why would you just openly like talk? It's only when they die that you're like, I need to express my opinion on this. But I was thinking about it yesterday, because you see so many people. I like, you always look at it and you're like, well, everyone's tweeting this stuff. What does it like mean to me? But I'm always like, I don't think anything ever means something to me where I'm like, I gotta make sure my followers know. I gotta get this out there. Like, someone needs to know. I'm broken up about this.
Well, see, because of your persona, people are going, well, that joke didn't land. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't tell if he was being honest there.
Is this ironic that he cares? This is the other thing I got. If you look at Niagara Falls, they put it purple. The Empire State Building went purple. In Paris,
love that stuff.
the Eiffel. And then I thought to myself, I don't have a color. You know what I mean? I don't have a color.
When you die.
Yeah. That people go, oh, that color that represents Ron.
Throw up a teal, maybe. Yeah, I died. They're like, go with just some plain stripes. It's not interesting at all.
Is there a vanilla pasty?
Just put up sort of off-white.
Yeah.
Slate gray. That's me. Just a slate gray.
Yeah, it's Tombstone Gray is what you're looking for.
Tombstone Gray tribute.
Chris Stanley, who are we going to lose next? What icon goes next?
I feel like Keith's going to go next.
Right. Why would you even say that?
Why would you say it?
People.
He's from the future, guys. Let him talk.
Keith, no. Never done.
I refuse to even guess someone because I'm too afraid.
Was Keith ever even here?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Keith actually is the only one where you go, was he ever even here? And people were like, a lot of times, no, he really wasn't here.
Keith should sue Walking Dead because that was his gimmick way before.
Yeah, he was already doing that.
I do like the fact that Keith doesn't ever even now act like I wasn't doing that much drugs. Because the difference between with me and other people, I kept it at a reasonable amount.
Yeah.
And you're like, you did not.
How could you have?
I was running a marathon. I wasn't running a sprint.
And do you have anybody left in Minnesota now?
Dylan, technically.
No, he hasn't been back there. You have anybody who now fills in as the new Prince?
No.
All the replacements gone?
Dylan could be. Shouldn't Dylan have died in a motorcycle accident in like the late 60s?
Yeah, it was 66, 67 when he had that accident.
I think that was meant to be.
Yeah.
And he somehow
dodged
avoided it. Yeah.
But the thing about Dylan is just like he's also so strange into his own world that he's never been completely here. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like he does feel like he's got his foot in a different reality.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is read his book, that autobiography that he wrote. He would just be real specific for a chapter and then just jump into a whole nother weird thing. I like beans, and first thing in the morning. You're just like, what is he writing? Is he fucking with us? Yeah. Or he would just write about meeting a magician or something, or just really weird shit.
Yeah.
But he's happy with it all the time. I think Prince kind of made his music for himself. And if anybody else could get it, that was fine. It's very rare to find like people that aren't sitting around wondering how they did on the charts, you know?
Yeah. And there's a confidence in his music, his persona, his style.
There is a confidence of not giving a fuck. The weird thing about social media is immediately people go to see, hey, how did that thing that I do, did it work out?
Right,
now, a stand-up should know from what happened in the room.
Yeah.
But stand-ups go and check to see if people said, oh, just saw the show.
Tweeted at him.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's hard not to get sucked into like the rabbit hole of reading comments and stuff too.
Right.
I've only recently gotten good at being like, all right, I know that's going to get posted online. I'm not going to go read anything anyone writes about it. And it's hard because you want to feed your ego, but then one person just writes fail, and it's probably a 13-year-old kid who didn't even watch the video, and yet still you're like, no!
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how much good feedback,
Exactly.
you're going to focus on this
It could be 1,000
thing.
compliments. One person just can crush you
You're like, oh,
immediately.
forget it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this ever again.
But see, the thing is even if they hate it, right? In 24 hours, that same passion is forgotten. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could go out on stage and let an elephant jizz in your face.
Which I have done for anyone who wants to get tickets for the show this weekend.
And whether that worked or didn't work is only for about 24 hours. They're not going to say, oh my God, that's the amazing dude.
And, anybody who would ever talk shit about something like that, the same person would turn around if they met you and be like, oh, Rory, I
loved
saw
it.
you. You're awesome.
I know.
Like that's how they actually would act.
Yeah.
The The beauty of it, though, is that it's only going to be more intense as time goes on. Like, we'll look back on these days and almost feel like, oh, we didn't really get into the deep end of social media, you know?
Yeah.
It'll just get worse.
Yeah.
And more crazy as time goes on.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, the future's fucked up. So
Yeah.
you
It's
don't
too
want to live
weird.
there.
I mean, anytime like when celebrities die, I'm like I always have the weirdest thoughts. Like even with Prince yesterday, I was like, well, he's never gonna find out how this whole election's gonna wrap up.
I thought that too.
Like, isn't that weird? That I'm like, but like for some reason, you're dying. You're stepping into the unknown of whatever happens next, and yet still I'm like, but he'll never know if Trump actually goes all the way or not. He'll never know if we have an absurd president or not. He'll never get there.
You know what's always weird with even regular people is reading their last tweet, and it's never powerful. It's always like, oh, got some donuts. See everybody Tuesday.
Headed to the grocery store. Ugh.
Yeah. And you're like, if their life is fragile, what about mine?
Wait.
Because I'm looking around and life is going on without Prince.
Right.
So what do they give a fuck about anything
Yeah.
else?
Yeah.
Rory Scoville, always good to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
Caroline's this weekend, great club. Go to carolines.com for tickets, and you can use the promo code RSFunny for $10 off that ticket. RoryScoville.com for all additional dates. And you can purchase Rory's first special, the Charleston special, by going to that RoryScoville.com. He never stops working, and you're just really funny on TV, funny on stage. I'm always
Thank
just
you.
a big fan
Thank you very
of
much.
what we're doing. Hey, you can see Opie or hear Opie. What time today?
3 p.m. in the East on Opie
3
Radio.
p.m. in the East. He's doing his show live from the Moon Tower Comedy Festival this weekend. And then all kinds of cool shit going on down there
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Austin's great.
It is a great town, Joe,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, there's something good about a town who goes, we don't want a bunch of fucking corporate things here. Like
Right,
everyone
yeah.
acts like, oh, things are good because we just got this new fast food
Right, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But they fuck up everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to be in a town that feels like, oh, this is the only place that feels like that.
Right.
I hate when I go through New York or any other city and I'm like, oh, this is like the West Village because they have that place, you know?
Right.
This is where this is. This is Fifth Avenue of this place. All right, so that's it for us. Head on over to the item bank. By the way, that crazy guitar solo everybody is going to today from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where Prince shut down the world. For people who don't think of him as a songwriter or personality more than a musician.
Can I say something about that clip too? The best thing about it is out of nowhere, Prince is just suddenly there to do the solo, even though he was on stage the whole time. He just kind of like pops out. But then also at the very end, it looks like he just throws his guitar in the air and it never comes down.
It never comes down.
Shoots into space.
Yeah.
And then he just turns and walks away off
Yeah,
stage.
exactly.
Like, yes, something happened. Try to figure it out for a long time. Amazing stuff. All right, we're going to say, what do you want to end the show with today, Gail?
Let's end the show with Nothing Compares to You, Prince's
version.
Yeah, Prince's version featuring Rosie Gaines. It's one of my favorites.
All right, see you guys later on.